All right, looks like we are live. Welcome back to WMMA Now with your host, Christina, and welcome to episode number 91 of the WMMA Scene Report, our regular show where we go over everything going on within the world of women's mixed martial arts. News, reviews, rankings, updates, just about everything going on. Tonight, we're doing something a little different. So we have two different conversation topics tonight. So we're actually going to split up. We're going to do one at the beginning of the show. Then we're going to do the regular format, and then we'll do the second conversation topic at the end of the show. So first up, let's get started. She's back. Cupcake, Miesha Tate, is back. Even better than that, she already has a fight booked. So Miesha Tate has decided to return to mixed martial arts as an active competitor. You know, she was always involved with the sport. Even after retirement, she tried her hand at managing fighters at first, and then she went and got a vice president's job with athletes relations over at One Championship. I'm not sure if she's still holding that position with One Championship. I mean, she's been back in the U.S. since, I believe, last fall, like November roughly. But Miesha Tate has decided to return to mixed martial arts as an active competitor. And she is back with the UFC. She still has 6 fights with them. So she must have signed an 8-fight contract when she became the champion, because she already did 2 fights. She did a title defense, and then she did one more fight against Raquel Pennington before calling it a day. But she took those few years off, dumped Brian Caraway, got a new boyfriend, new man, had a couple kids, you know, tried her hand at different things, and now she said she's got the itch and, you know, she wants to compete again. So glad to see it. I mean, I remember it was like in November, I think it was, where she posted on IG that she was, you know, back in the gym at Extreme Couture, and I think she's up in Washington right now training with Juliana Pena. So really excited to see what she brings back. And as I said, she already has a fight lined up. July 17th in the UFC, she is going to be taking on the Belizean bruiser, Marion Reneau. So let's go ahead and take a look at the stats here real quick. I'll even enlarge the screen a little bit. Let's see. Got Tate coming in 18-7, Reneau coming in 9-7-1. Now, both of these ladies are coming in off of some losses. Obviously, Reneau coming in off of 4 straight. Tate coming in off of 2 straight. Let's see. Age, 10-year difference. Reneau is 44. Tate is 34. So, you know, Tate's been gone almost 5 years. Kind of quit right in the middle of her prime. But, you know, she just had different priorities going on. So she's back and still mid-30s. Still plenty of time for her to compete. They are the same height, 5'6", 168 centimeters. However, it looks like Reneau's going to have a reach advantage, 68 inches, 173 centimeters, to Tate's 66.5-inch, 169 centimeters. So I didn't really want to talk about the actual fight too much. I really just wanted to talk about, you know, the fact that Tate is back and what this means, you know, for the sport, but even more importantly for the women's bantamweight division. You know, Tate is one of the first female stars of the UFC. She's a former Strikeforce champion, former UFC champion, and she was part of that group that came over, you know, the first few that came over from Strikeforce when UFC decided to bring over the ladies. And she was on, was it season, I believe, 18 of The Ultimate Fighter when they had the first all-women's season. It was all women's bantamweights, and as far as I know, I believe every single member of Miesha Tate's team is still in the UFC. Or no, I think Sarah Morris was the first member of Team Tate to actually get cut, whereas Team Rousey, she coached that season, Ultimate Ronda Rousey. All of Team Rousey is like long gone. So just goes to show, I think, that, you know, she knew how to pick her team members. Anyway, she was one of those, you know, one of the first female stars of the UFC. Always a big fan favorite. Looks go a long way. But she was also tough. She was gritty. She was a wrestler, so she had the ground game going for her, but she also improved her striking, and she had a nice right hand. I mean, I remember she was expected to get outboxed on the feet when she fought Jessica Ai, and then she actually ended up dropping Jessica Ai at one point with the right hand. So, Miesha was always, trying to improve. Maybe wasn't as improving as fast as some of the other fighters, and definitely had some weaknesses going into her fights. But she was, always up there, always competitive. And, when she finally got to fight for the title again, she lost the Strikeforce title to Ronda Rousey, lost her UFC title bid against Rousey again. So she never got to face Ronda a third time. She almost fought her way back to a third title fight, though, but ended up facing Holly Holm in Holm's first title defense. Really had a great fight and a great win there from Miesha Tate. 5th round submission. You could argue that Tate Holm was either ahead or they were headed to a draw in which Holm would have stayed the champion. But Tate got that, rear naked choke in the 5th round, choked Holly Holm unconscious. Just a great moment for the sport. And then unfortunately for Tate, in her very next fight, her first title defense, she faced Amanda Nunes at UFC 200. And I'll be honest, she did not seem herself going into that fight. She had a bad weight cut. Now, I'm not trying to diminish Amanda Nunes' win at all. But, Miesha just did not seem herself going into that fight. I think a part of what happened, and this is just a theory, I think that winning the belt allowed her to accomplish everything that she had wanted to accomplish up to that point. And, it's hard for champions. That every champion tells you it is harder to stay the champion than it is to become the champion, because you're always hungry as a challenger or as a contender. And then once you become a champion, it's harder to stay hungry because you're already full. But you got to keep the hungry mindset going so that you can stay competitive. So Miesha lost her first title defense to Amanda Nunes, and then fought again later, like a few months later. I think it was in November of that year. UFC 200 was in roughly June, July. And then she fought in UFC 200 or whatever event that was in November that year, losing a decision to Raquel Pennington, who Miesha actually coached on The Ultimate Fighter. So, like I said, Miesha decided she called it a day, got her nose fixed because she had broken her nose a few times, and decided, I'm going to get my nose fixed. Went into fighter management for a short amount of time, and then she got that call up from One Championship. I think she might have actually presented her case to them to hire her. I can't remember exactly, but she became vice president of talent relations for One Championship or some title like that. You know how it is with corporations. They always have, myriad titles for everything. But she got that vice president title with One Championship. Moved her to Singapore, was living there for a while, but now it seems like she's back in the States. She says she's hungry. She says she feels like she's got a lot to prove. She even says that she feels that she has it in her to make another title run, and thinks that she has a style to beat Amanda Nunes. Now, I don't know about that. But if she really feels like she's hungry and she's ready, then it'll be interesting to see what she brings in, because you never know with a fighter who has taken that much time off. They might come back and not have missed a step at all, or they might come back and look like they're underwater. It's just really hard to tell. Now, what does this mean for the women's divisions? Well, obviously, women's divisions have one of their original, known names, their known stars back. And this could actually be a good boost for the women's divisions. But especially, it means a boost for the bantamweight division. Bantamweight has been in a lull. Honestly, people say it's been in a lull ever since Ronda left. I'll make a bit of a controversial take here. I think bantamweight was never fully developed by the UFC. I think they basically kept building up fighters just good enough, or just so that they had a good enough record to take on Ronda, and then boom, they put her in them in a title fight with Ronda, and then they lose. So then they do it again and again up until Ronda lost to Holly Holm. Since then, bantamweight has been it's there, but they haven't been able to really build up any like new contenders. It's the same few people at the top. Nunes became the champ, or well, Holm became the champ after Ronda, and then Tate became the champ after Holm, and then Nunes became champ. But it's been like the same several fighters at the top ever since then. Nunes, Holm, GDR, those are the top three, really. Pena was close for a little bit, but then took time off to have a kid, so she's fighting her way back. Ketlin Vieira seemed like she was on her way up, and then got injured and hasn't been quite the same since she came back. Irene Aldana was trying to make a run, and then she ran into Holly Holm. It just happens. So for Miesha Tate to come back, it really, puts a spotlight and a shine on the bantamweight division that I think really needs it. I mean, there are some young up-and-comers in the bantamweight division right now, and if Miesha puts herself back in the mix and mixes up with them, then it puts a spotlight and a shine on those individual fighters as well. Now, Marion Reneau, she has already said that this is going to be her last fight. It's her last fight on her UFC contract, and it's going to be her retirement fight, whether win or lose. Hopefully, Miesha, nothing against Marion Reneau, nothing against her at all, but I hope Miesha wins, because for her to do her comeback fight and win, it would do a lot better for the women's divisions, especially bantamweight in particular. I just feel like Miesha winning would just do so much more. But yeah, Miesha Tate coming back means a lot, especially for the bantamweight division. And as a longtime Miesha Tate fan, going all the way back to Strikeforce days, and as someone who's known about her since really the start of her career, really excited. I mean, I remember when she started out at the hook and shoot Bodog fight women's tournament, and I actually covered that one last year during COVID. I did a fight companion for that replay, and when she got knocked out by Caitlin Young with a high kick, that was a bad knockout. But Miesha coming back is going to be really good, because she's never really in a boring fight. Her fights, I mean, she does what it takes to win, but if that means she's got to brawl it out, then she'll brawl it out. So it means that good fights are on the way too. So didn't want to spend too much time talking about that. I mean, just really excited, but I've also got just a ton of stuff to talk about overall tonight. So let's move into the weekend review for this past weekend. So starting at One Championship, Fists of Fury 3 had one ladies bout. We had an upset here. Jenny Lynn Olsen on the right there defeated Mahida Mazar via submission due to guillotine choke. 41 seconds of the third round. Olsen climbed to 4-2. Mazar climbed to 7-4. Congrats to Jenny Lynn Olsen for the upset. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about any of these fights because we got to get through all of them. So just mostly going to be reading the reviews or the results here. That was last Friday. Last Saturday, we had UAE Warriors 18, had a pair of ladies fights. First up, Maria Giovanna Vi defeated Daniela Shutov via submission in the first round. Vi climbed to 1-0. Shutov fell to 0-1. Successful pro debut for Maria Giovanna Vi. Then up at flyweight, Corinne Laframboise defeated Malin Hermansen via submission in the second round. No method listed. Laframboise climbed to 6-4. Hermansen fell to 5-3. I believe Hermansen took that fight on, relatively short notice, like a week. So no shame in losing a short notice fight like that. Then on Saturday, we had a pair of ladies bouts. Pair? Yes. First off, up at bantamweight, Macy Chasson defeated Marion Reneau via unanimous decision. Chasson climbed to 7-1. Reneau fell to 9-7. And then at strawweight, Montserrat Ruiz came in on short notice, defeated Cheyenne Bays via unanimous decision. Ruiz climbed to 10-1. Bays fell to 5-2. In an otherwise utterly forgettable fight. And then finally, on Sunday, early Sunday morning in the U.S., Sunday evening in the Japan, RIZIN 27 super atomweight title fight main event. Ayaka Hamasaki defeated Kana Asakura via split decision. Hamasaki climbed to 22-3. Asakura fell to 18-5. A rematch of their fight from 2018, I believe. Just a really good fight overall. Back and forth action. If you haven't seen it yet, it is uploaded to YouTube, the fight itself, so go check it out. Really good fight. So that is it for the results for this past weekend. So now it is time for me to read off some news, and there's a ton of news and fight announcements as soon as I get it up on my easel here. Okay, first up, Valor FC 80 goes down April 2nd in Knoxville, Tennessee. They have a strawweight bout. Emily King, 5-4, taking on Jessica Ruiz, 0-2. It looks like a mismatch, at least on paper. You might remember Emily King. She's fought for Icon. I just talked about her fights a couple weeks ago. Also fought for Bellator and Invicta in the past. Then Octagon 22 goes down this Saturday, March 27th, and I'll talk about these fights a little later. A 64-kilogram catchweight bout, Lucia Pudova coming in 10-6, taking on Mayu Sawatama coming in 8-5. And then at bantamweight, Lucia Sabova coming in 2-0, taking on Christina Netzer coming in 3-1. And then we have a grappling bout. Submission Underground 21 goes down this Sunday, the 28th. Jessica I from the UFC is taking on Elimele McFarlane, so the former Bellator champ. Then Icon FF6 goes down April 2nd in Sinaloa, Mexico, and they announced 3 different bouts. First up, a strawweight bout between Isis Verbeek coming in 1-1, taking on Dana Garcia, making her debut. Isis just fought an Icon a couple weeks ago. Then a featherweight bout, Abigail Montez coming in 1-0, taking on Teresita Lopez, making her debut. And then finally, a bantamweight bout, Claudia Zamora coming in 1-1, taking on Andrea Vasquez Pantoja, and I believe she is making her debut as well. Then we got a bunch of UFC news. First up, UFC Fight Night goes down on June 19th. A flyweight bout has been booked between Casey O'Neill coming in 6-0 and Lara Procopio coming in 7-1. Then a UFC Fight Night is scheduled for June 12th. They have a bantamweight bout. Carol Hosa, 14-3, taking on Sajara Eubanks coming in 6-6. I believe that one's going to have some ranking implications. I could be mistaken, though. And then Deep 101st Impact. I forgot to write down the date for this one. My apologies. But they booked a minus 64 kilogram or 140-pound catchweight bout. The King is back. King, Reina Miura, coming in at 12-3, taking on Yoko Higashi, coming in at 5-2. If you've never seen a King Reina fight, go look her up. King, R-E-I-N-A. They're something else. And, well, she is something else, I should say. She's a character. A true character. Then UFC event on June 5th added a flyweight bout between Montana De La Rosa, 11-6-1, taking on Ariana Lipsky, coming in at 13-6. Not only should that fight be very good, it's probably the single most aesthetically pleasing bout the UFC could make. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Both of those ladies are attractive. So, in the words of Paris Hilton, that's hot. And then Bellator 256 goes down April 9th. And I believe these are all happening on the same event. If it is, then they have 3 ladies bouts announced. And that goes down April 9th. A featherweight bout between Kat Zingano coming in 11-4, taking on Olivia Parker coming in 4-1. And that's a mismatch. A featherweight bout between Talita Nogueira 7-2 and Jessica Borga coming in 3-2. Bit of a mismatch on paper, but not as bad as the former. And then a flyweight bout, Liz Carmouche coming in 14-7, and the former Invicta flyweight champ Vanessa Porto coming in 22-8. That's going to be the fight to watch. I mean, it might not be the most exciting, but that's going to be the fight to watch. That's going to be the best fight of those 3, I think. And then the UFC is targeting a flyweight bout for their July 10th event between flyweights Jennifer Maia, 18-7-1, and Jessica Ai, 15-9. Jennifer Maia getting like a, you hate to call it a tune-up fight, but at this point in Jessica Ai's career, it seems like a bit of a tune-up fight for Jennifer Maia coming off a failed title bid. And then UFC has an event scheduled for May 1st. The flyweight bout between Ji-yeon Kim and Polyana Batalio has experienced a change. For unknown reasons, Ji-yeon Kim is out. Polyana Batalio, who is 8-3, will now be taking on Maida Bueno Silva coming in at 7-1-1. That should actually be that went from a good fight to a fight that is just as good. Those 2 are going to be slugging it out, Batalio and Bueno Silva. Let's see. And then Shudo 2021 Volume 3 goes down May 16th. They added 4 ladies bouts. 3 of them are in their super atomweight 110-pound division. First up, Megumi Sugimoto, 5-3, takes on Mikiko Hayama, coming in 0-6. That's a gimme fight. Miku Nakamura coming in 3-4, takes on Q Kitano, coming in 3-2-1. That should actually be pretty even. And then Yuki Ono coming in 0-1, takes on Chihiro Sawada, making her debut. Sawada looks familiar. I think she might have been on the Japan national wrestling team. Don't quote me on that, but if she is, she should make for a promising prospect. And then they have a strawweight bout. Momoka Hoshiyama taking on Norika Ryu, both ladies making their pro debut. So Shudo getting back into the women's MMA market in a big way with this event. And then unfortunately, due to COVID, the strawweight bout between Hannah Goldie and Jessica Penny that was scheduled for the UFC event this weekend has been moved back to April 17th. And then one championship, one on TNT 4, goes down next month in April. Didn't write down the date because I'm a dummy. But they have a bantamweight bout scheduled between Colby Northcutt, 1-1, taking on Sovanari M, coming in at 4-1. So Colby, if you're not familiar, is the sister of Sage Northcutt. Family resemblance very strong, like weirdly strong between those 2. Northcutt less experienced than Sovanari M, but man, she's going to have a huge height and reach advantage going into that fight. And then final bit of news. CFFC 95 goes down April 2nd. They added a strawweight bout. Hillary Rose coming in 4-2, taking on Alana Arnett, making her debut. You might remember Hillary Rose. She fought Cheyenne Bays on the Contender Series, and that's how Cheyenne Bays got signed to the UFC. And that one should be on Fight Pass, along with Icon FF6, which I read the fights for. So that is it for the news. Let's go check out some comments. Phil Acoustic Chaos asks, first fight I saw Tate was when the rounds for women were only 3 minutes. Yeah, that was a while ago. That was at least 10 years ago. I remember that. Like, that sucks. Or it sucked at the time. And then Leon EU asks, do you think Miesha Tate's return will be successful or unsuccessful? I don't know. I mean, hopefully some training footage will get out there, and then we can see like how she looks in training. And I don't mean just like pad mitt or mitt work or pad work either. Like that tells you nothing. Like hopefully some like sparring footage will get out there, and we can see what she's doing as far as sparring wise, and see how she reacts to stuff, because that would really tell us how she's doing. But it's up in the air, honestly. I mean, like I said earlier, she could come back and not have missed a step, or it could go the opposite way, and she could come back and look like she is just moving underwater. It's really hard to say. I mean, hopefully she's successful. I don't think anybody, wants her to not be successful in this return. I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't. I mean, Marion Reneau, obviously wants to win, but other than that, it's hard to think of anyone who wouldn't want Tate to be successful. All right, so that is it for the news. So let's move into the rankings updates here. First up, UFC Bantamweight has some changes in the rankings. After Macy Chasson defeated Marion Reneau, she moved up 2 spots to number 9. Reneau dropped 3 spots from 9 all the way to 12. And then Pannie Kianzad moved up 1 spot from 12 to 11. Of course, Lena Landsberg stayed the same there in the middle at 10, which I'm not sure when the last time she fought was. I know she's pregnant right now, so hopefully, she should be removed if she's not going to be able to fight within a year of her last fight. Excuse me. And then for the first time ever, doing one championship rankings updates, because they didn't change for a long time. But finally, we got some changes. So Denise Zamboanga is still at number 1. Munbo is at number 2. Aliona Rasohina was added in at number 3. Lin Hei Jin was removed. I don't know why she was removed, although she's only had 1 fight and 1 championship and hasn't fought for them since then. So I don't have a problem with her being removed for inactivity. Stamp Fairtex somehow moved up from 5 to 4 because of the removal of Lin Hei Jin. Aliana Rasohina obviously on there because she beat Fairtex, but then Mei Yamaguchi moves down from 4 to number 5. I don't agree with that because didn't she win her last fight? Let me check. Mei Yamaguchi. Okay, so Mei hasn't fought since the loss to Denise Zamboanga in February of 2020. So inactivity, I don't have a problem with her being moved down. But then again, if you move her all the way down to number 5, then it makes the win over her by Denise Zamboanga look less worthy of being number 1 worthy because of that. So it's kind of weird. Anyway, obviously they want to keep Stamp on there because she's still in the super atomweight, or the atomweight tournament coming up in May. Juliana Pena should be higher, so she is at number 6. Yeah, I think you could possibly place her higher than Kunitskaya or Aldana. Both of them are coming off of losses. Or no, Kunitskaya is coming off a win. Aldana is coming off a loss. Aspen Ladd, I don't know why Aspen Ladd's at number 3. She hasn't fought in forever and coming off a loss as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with Pena being higher. Then Judy V says 1 championships on TNT April 4th, 7th, 21st, and 28th. Thank you, Judy. And they are all going to be on prime time. So we get to watch one championship at convenient times for the U.S. for once, which I think that only ever happened like once before. So that is it for the rankings updates. So let's move into the weekend preview. So going to Friday night, we have LFA 103 has one ladies bout in the strawweight division. Giovanna Canuto taking on Amanda Borg. Canuto looks like her pro debut coming out of Brazil. Amanda Borg coming in 0-5 out of the U.S. Don't know anything about Canuto or Borg, but I can just look at their records. Debut versus 0-5. This looks like an LFA special to me. So we're going to go with Canuto to win here. I mean, if you really want to bet on a debutante to win, then Canuto's your best bet. Then FEN 33/Lotos Fight Night 5 goes down Saturday in Lodz, Poland. One ladies bout at bantamweight. Isabella Baderick coming in 8-6, taking on Ekaterina Shakalova coming in 4-1. Baderick coming off a win 5 months ago over Anita Beckis. She was supposed to fight recently, and then that fight got pulled. And then Katerina Shakalova just fought like under 4 months ago, taking a unanimous decision win. Baderick, the elder fighter, 29-23. Looks like Baderick's going to have a slight reach and height advantage as well. I'm going to go with Shakalova to win this one. She looks like a very strong wrestler and grappler, and Baderick is basically a journeyman fighter. I mean, she has like a just above 500 record. She's never been anything to write home about. I liked a lot more of what I saw in Shakalova's recent fight than what I've ever seen in Isabella Baderick. So we're going to go with Shakalova to win that one. I don't know how that fight's going to be broadcast, though. And then Octagon 22 takes place on Saturday. Octagon events are very fun. They're usually available online through their own website. I think it's octagon.tv for like a modest price pay-per-view. First up, we have a catchweight bout at 64 kilograms. Lucia Pudova taking on Mayu Sawatama. I don't have the stats available for this because Tapology didn't update this. Pudova taking this fight on very short notice. Just got the call this week, replacing Marta Volacek. I'm going to go with Pudova. She is coming in on short notice, but I like more what I've seen of Pudova since her return to the European circuit. Sawatama been a little underwhelming in her return to MMA. I think she most recently lost twice to Shanna Young and Invicta. Lost once in the Phoenix series, which was only like a 5-minute fight, and then she lost a full size fight to Shanna Young as well via unanimous decision. And I would rate Lucia Pudova higher than I would Shanna Young. As long as Pudova comes in decent shape, she should win. But this should be a barn burner. I think we all know Lucia Pudova. She never has a boring fight. And then also on that card at bantamweight, Lucia Sabova taking on Christina Netzer. Sabova coming in 2-0. Netzer coming in 3-1. Looks like Netzer is 22 years old. No other stats for her. Sabova is 5 feet 7 inches, 170 centimeters. No other stats for her. I liked what I saw of Sabova out of her last fight. I'm unfamiliar with Netzer. I don't feel confident enough, though, to pick either of these two fighters. But Sabova has an exciting fighting style, so it should make for a good fight. Then also on Saturday, XFC Young Guns 1. I'm not sure how you can watch this, so I'll have to look that up. But has a flyweight bout. Christina Williams coming in 3-3, taking on Helen Lucero coming in 1-1. So you got the Bellator vet Williams taking on Invicta vet Lucero. Let's see. Warhorse Williams coming in 3-3. Lucero coming in 1-1. Let's see. Williams hasn't fought in over a year. Last dropped a submission loss to Denise Kielholtz in Bellator. Lucero hasn't fought, or let's see, she last fought about 3.5 months ago, getting a rear naked choke win over Allison Breeden and is that Mountain Force? Don't know. Let's see. Ooh, Lucero's definitely the elder fighter, 43-31. Williams is about an inch taller, 3 centimeters. Looks like the reach is roughly the same. So I'm going to go with Williams to win this one. Nothing against Lucero. 43 is late to be getting into MMA. I'm going to go with Christina Williams. Plus, I just have more. I've seen more footage of Christina Williams. I'm going to go with her just because I'm more familiar with Williams. And then finally, on Saturday night, UFC 260. Supposed to have 2 ladies bouts. We're down to just one. Gillian Robertson taking on Miranda Maverick. The Savage, Gillian Robertson, coming in at 9-5. Miranda Fear the Maverick coming in at 8-2. Let's see. Robertson coming off a loss to Tyler Santos via decision 3 months ago. Preceded that with a pair of wins. Maverick riding a nice winning streak coming into this fight. Most recently coming off her UFC debut 4 months ago with a TKO win over Liana Jojua due to doctor stoppage. Robertson's 25 years to 23 for Maverick. Robertson's the taller fighter, 5 feet 5 inch, 165 centimeters to 5'3", 160 centimeters for Maverick. However, Maverick has the broader shoulders, the longer arms. For the reach, 65 inches, 165 centimeters to 63 inch, 160 centimeters for Robertson. I'm going to go with Miranda Maverick. I picked her to win when this fight was first scheduled, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. And I'll tell you why. Robertson struggles with strong, athletic fighters who can outstrike her and who can put her on her back on the ground and outwork her there. And that's exactly what Miranda Maverick is going to do. Maverick's better striker, like not phenomenally great or anything, but just better, just enough better than Robertson to be able to beat her on the feet. And if it goes to the ground, I don't see Robertson putting Maverick on her back. I see it going the opposite way. I see Maverick more than likely putting Robertson on her back. And, you know, Maverick is Robertson is all of her game is based on being on top, not really working off of her back. And like I said, she struggles with strong, athletic fighters who can outwork her and just, you know, get past her skills. Whereas Maverick is that, plus she has skills of her own. So I'm going to go with Miranda Maverick to win this one. All right, so that is it for the preview for this weekend. Let's go back to the comments. Leon asks, thoughts on Jessica Borga versus Toledo Nogueira, and what is your prediction? A few fights ago for Nogueira, I'd have said her, no question. But after her last several fights, it's up in the air. But I'd have to go watch more. I'd have to go do some film study on those two before I could really make a decision. What's up to Brother Man? Thank you for the super chat. Said, sup, scene. What do you think about modeling women trying to get involved in MMA? Do you think they'll have a chance to break their careers? So you've asked me this a few times. Still appreciate the super chat, but so I'll go ahead and answer it. As long as they take it seriously, good on them. If they want to, I don't care what the women do to make money on their own times. The consequences are well known, all that stuff. If they're going to get in an MMA, you got to take it seriously. Otherwise, you're just going to get beat up. So if they want to fight in MMA, go ahead. But you got to take it seriously. Otherwise, you're going to get beat up. And then you're just going to make yourself and the sport look bad. So if you take it seriously, good. If not, then don't bother. Since Kat Zingano and Julia Budd have a fight coming up, most likely it will be Leslie Smith or Sinead Kavanagh. Who would you like to see face Cyborg, and who will be more successful? I'd rather see Kavanagh. I just don't like Leslie Smith. And we all saw Cyborg versus Leslie Smith once already. So why would we want to see it again? It's predictable. Kavanagh would probably fare at least a little better. She at least has a puncher's chance, whereas Smith has absolutely nothing. So I would rather see Sinead Kavanagh. Plus, I just don't like Leslie Smith. And for my pick. Oh, Miranda Maverick. Yeah. I like Gillian, rooting for her. A lot of hype on Maverick's side, though. Well, it's well earned. I'm not a Maverick fan. I just don't like her. She rubs me the wrong way for some reason. And I think that Invicta's blatant favoritism of her rubbed me the wrong way as well. But the hype behind her is legit. I mean, she won the Phoenix Series 2 tournament, and she faced some, decent competition in that. She beat Victoria Leonardo, who she had already beaten before. She beat Shanna Young. And then she finished Deanna Bennett, avenging an earlier loss in the finals. So then she beat Pro Gonzalez and was supposed to be a title eliminator. So yeah, I mean, Maverick has earned the hype behind her. I mean, she's young, she's strong, she's athletic, she's a finisher, she's very aggressive. She's just about everything you want to see in a young fighter. So, I mean, the hype is there, and it's well earned. Prediction for Carla versus Jan. A little early yet. I don't want to give it up yet. I don't want to give that one away just yet. So, let's talk about who's next for Ayaka Hamasaki. So, she just successfully defended her title against Kana Asakura in a rematch at RIZIN 27 via split decision. It was a close fight. Very good fight as well. So now the big question becomes, what does RIZIN do next? Because of COVID and the travel restrictions to Japan, RIZIN has been struggling lately to put together good events. I mean, they've still been doing very good considering. But right now it is just very hard, almost impossible for them to bring in, foreign fighters to fight, because you got to do a 2-week quarantine. Not only is that expensive, it's also just difficult. I mean, a fighter literally has to spend 2 weeks, in a hotel room or in a, someone's residence that would allow them to stay with them. And they can't leave for 2 straight weeks. So it's very hard to do any type of training or anything. I mean, Miyu Yamamoto fought for New Year's. She came and spent, did the quarantine with her fiance or husband or whatever, Kyle Agwan. They got to stay at her dad's house because her dad lives in Japan and he has a decent sized house. Even has like a little outside yard area that they were able to do some training in, which is good for them. But other than that, it's going to be very hard for them to bring in foreign fighters, which that could change later this year. So the big question is, RIZIN hasn't really done a whole lot with their super atomweight division yet. So what exactly is next for Ayaka Hamasaki? I mean, unfortunately, the Sahi-Ham quadrilogy fight is just not there anymore. Ham is now in one championship, so just can't have that bout. So what does RIZIN, do with her? Who do they have challenge her? Do they try to build someone up this year? Have Hamasaki, who's in her late 30s already and spent most of last year inactive, just not fight anyone till the end of the year while they try to build someone up locally? Or do they hope and pray that the travel restrictions, get, lowered, and that they can bring in a foreign fighter before then? So I think there are a couple of options for them, and I think either one would make for a good option. So first option, wait and hope that the travel restrictions get lowered, which I see no reason why they shouldn't be. I think we've all seen that, conditions most around the world are doing a lot better in spite of what, government restrictions and everything. So if they bring in a foreign fighter, I say bring in Invicta champion Alicia Zapatella. Do I think Zapatella has a good chance of beating Hamasaki? Not particularly. She's mostly a fairly one-dimensional wrestler. Her striking leaves a lot to be desired. Mostly just throws big looping punches to try to get inside and work her wrestling. She's got some pop in her punches, definitely, when she can land. But she is the current Invicta champ. Ayaka is, the former champ. She was the last, you could say she was the lineal champion before losing to Ham. So because, Ayaka never actually she never lost the Invicta championship title. She had to vacate it when she left. She went up to strawweight, got knocked out by Livia Hanata-Souza, and then went back to Japan, took some time off, and then made her debut with RIZIN. So she never actually lost the Invicta atomweight title. So Zapatella is the current Invicta champ. You could do, RIZIN versus Invicta, and Ayaka could say, hey, I'm still, the Invicta mama, as it were, in atomweight. No Invicta atomweight has been able to beat Ayaka yet. Still hasn't been able to. Jin tried again when she came over to RIZIN. She was the atomweight champ and wasn't able to do it. So they could lay out that challenge for Alicia Zapatella. Be interesting to see, the wrestler versus the elite judoka stylist. Or RIZIN could go the local route, stick to the local Japanese scene, which one thing that RIZIN has definitely been doing is helping to build up the local Japanese MMA scene, because a lot of fighters now on the Japanese MMA circuit are really excited. They want to fight for RIZIN, and it's helping build up numbers for the local Japanese shows as well. And I think a good option for later in the year would be whoever wins the Deep Jewels atomweight tournament. Okay, you got 4 fighters now, and they're going to do a random drawing again for the semifinals that are going to go down on May 5th, the semifinals and finals, to crown the new Deep Jewels champion. You got Saori Oshima, Shiyu Park, who right now is the current favorite, Hikaru Aono, and Aya Murakami. Winner of that tournament becomes the new Deep Jewels atomweight champ, and it wouldn't be the first time they've had they brought in the Deep Jewels atomweight champ to come in and fight in RIZIN. They've done it before with Tomo Maesawa. So they could do that. I think this would be a really good option, especially if the favorite fighter Shiyu Park wins. I believe she's now 5-2. That would get her to 7-2. That's like a respectable record. Nowhere near the experience of Ayaka Hamasaki, but it would make for a respectable record. And I think Park is probably the most well-rounded of the fighters in that tournament right now. Primarily a striker, but she is rounding out her game. Also, if Park wins, she is one of the main training partners of Sahi Ham. So a win over Park could be like a type of revenge fight for, I may have lost to Ham, so now I'm going to take my revenge on Ham's training partner and sparring partner and, like kid sister, as it were. Not an unfamiliar territory for Japanese MMA storylines. So that would make for a good one. Then again, Sari Oshima has very strong submissions, submitted Emi Tomomatsu in less than a minute in her quarterfinal bout. Hikaru Ono brings in a very strong wrestling background. Not much else, but strong wrestling. Aya Murakami, of course, is the dark horse going in right now. Only has one pro fight to her name, but a BJJ black belt, really strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu credentials. So, any of these four could win it because it's a tournament. You never know. I mean, they're going to do a random drawing for the semifinals, and then winners of the semis go to the finals, and winner of that becomes a Deep Jewels champion. So whether they wait for to bring in the foreign fighters and go with someone like Alicia Zapatella, the Invicta champ, or if they go in for the Deep Jewels champion, I think those are the two best options that RIZIN has right now for Ayaka Hamasaki, especially if they don't want to wait all the way until end of the year. So that's really all I want to talk about for that one. Let's see. Let's see. I already did that one. Please repeat. So Invicta, they were on Fight Pass. All of their old events are still on Fight Pass, and I think most of them, their fights have been split up as well. You can still see the old stuff on Fight Pass, but I believe their next event is going to be on YouTube. When that happens, anybody's guess. They haven't announced anything yet. Do you think Bellator are going to build their atomweight? And also, since it's a possibility that the featherweight division might be closing, do you think UFC will open up an atomweight division? I don't think Bellator is going to. They certainly haven't shown any signs other than having like an occasional fight here and there. They haven't shown any real signs. UFC would be the more likely one. I don't think it's. I'm not hedging my bets on them doing it this year right now. It'd be nice to see if they do it right, but I think it's doubtful it happens this year again. Just 2020 and 2021 just didn't, so far, just are not doing that division any favors as far as, getting into the big shows. Featherweight division, yeah, it's probably going to close, though, and for the UFC. Takes a while for Japan loosening the restrictions of COVID lockdowns, doing more damage to the country themselves. Yeah, I mean, that's my personal opinion, and studies have shown that the lockdowns are doing, more long-term damage to the economy and people's psychology and everything. So hopefully they start lowering them. Since Invicta will no longer be on Fight Pass, do you know who will be televising the fights? I believe they said the next event will be on YouTube. I heard a rumor, and it is nothing more than that they could be going to Showtime, which means they would be moving away from UFC and getting closer to Bellator, you would think, possibly. But again, that's just a rumor. I'm like double dipping on my caffeine tonight. What about Reina Kubota? I hadn't thought about Reina. I can't believe I forgot about that. What's Reina's record looking like right now? Because she hasn't fought in a while. So she's sitting at 11-3. She's on a 3-fight win streak. Here's the thing. Her last 3 fights have all been at either at catch weights or at straw weight. So if she can get her weight down to super atom weight, then I think, yeah, it'd be a good fight. I mean, I know she wants that fight, and Ayaka Hamasaki has been asked about it, and she has no problem with that fight. So I think it'd be a good one to make. I know Reina was talking about like only wanting to do like 3 more fights, and that's, one of them. So that'd be something to see. Getting a Showtime or ESPN Plus deal. So that, yeah, those are the rumors, but who knows? So Judy thinks Esparza will take Jan to the ground and keep her there, but still going with Jan. Interesting. RIZIN should make an atomweight tourney for one whole night. So, okay, they could do that. They did it in the past, but the question is, who do they put into it? Because they have to have enough fighters to do a tournament, even if it's only like 8-man, and they do it like they did their last one, where it's quarterfinals on one event and then semifinals and finals in the next event, much like how Deep Jewels is doing theirs. That's how RIZIN did it for their initial super atomweight Grand Prix. They got to find enough people to do it. And do they include the champ, or do they wait for the winner to face the champ? Because that would take one fighter out of the tournament. Do you follow Submission Underground or just MMA? Mostly just MMA. I mean, I'll watch an occasional grappling bout. To me, I have a hard time getting into submission grappling. I like watching it for the actual technique, but it's like frustrating because you see people, they'll come out of the corner and just straight up slide down to grab for the leg, or they pull guard right away, or they'll just sit there on their butt and wait for the person to come into their guard or attack from standing position. It's like a big problem for me with submission grappling is it's gotten to the point where you can't blame the big time submission grapplers for not getting into MMA, whereas before they would. Like the best grapplers would almost always get into MMA, like Dean Lister or Jake Shields. Were phenomenal grapplers, and they got into MMA. Whereas now you can't really blame the guys who do it for not getting MMA, because guess what? Their style is not adapted for MMA anymore. I mean, it's too much going for leg locks anymore, too much going for stuff that is super low probability in MMA and leaves them super vulnerable to get knocked out on the ground. So my big problem with, modern submission grappling is that it's too focused on stuff that you could only get away with in submission grappling. Oh, I missed it. Is the female MMA scene growing in Japan right now? So I can't say for sure. I watched the Discussing JMMA podcast with Shu Hirata and Charlie Jewett, which I'll have to post one of the episodes up in a community post. They've talked about it. It seems like thanks to RIZIN, MMA is growing a lot, gaining a lot more attention. I remember Ayaka Hamasaki has said in the past that because of her being the RIZIN champ, that a lot more women are coming into the gym now at AACC. So they are growing because of her status as RIZIN champ, which helps a lot. And, Deep Jewels is putting on events regularly, but Shudo last year got into putting on women's fights last year, and then we see they're putting on 4 in one event next month. So I think it does look like it is growing. So hopefully, they're building up a good like amateur scene and everything. I know Deep Jules puts on regular amateur events. They just had one. So you can find all of them on their channel right now at Deep Office. Yeah, that'd be nice because, well, I'm probably going to subscribe to Showtime anyway because of Bellator, but well, bantamweight's definitely not closing. I think featherweight, if they keep it open, it's going to mostly be just showcase fights for Amanda Nunes at this point. I mean, why would they release Megan Anderson otherwise? You can't just grow a division and claim you're keeping it open or growing it if you dismiss a title challenger right away. So I think it's basically, I think featherweight has gone full circle from being the Cyborg vanity division to circling around, and now it's the Amanda Nunes vanity division. Doesn't close. Lee Spencer will beat everyone in there. And she's looking to fight Lee Lesson, but she'll beat, and Amanda dominated Felicia. Yeah, I mean, do we really want to see that rematch right away? It doesn't seem worth it to me. I don't know about her wanting to do boxing. I haven't seen that. If she fights Hamasaki, man, I think she loses to Hamasaki, honestly. But that is a fight she wants. Laredo would get crushed against Hamasaki. She's like nowhere near Hamasaki. Well, plus they're in different weight classes too. But I still think Hamasaki would crush Valerie Laredo. I don't know about featherweight, bantamweight. Like I said, I talked about that earlier. I think Tate's return is very huge for women's bantamweight in the UFC. No, Laredo is 125. She is thick with 3 C's. So, yeah, she's short, but she's bottom heavy. So, yeah, she's 125. She walks around, I think, at I think she said 150. So she gets very heavy between fights. No, I think it's just lack of development by the UFC. It's not just the fact that Nunes is so dominant. I think bantamweight suffers from just a lack of overall constant development work by the UFC. Also, it doesn't help that you have 2 very strong gatekeepers right at the top below Nunes in GDR and Holm. I mean, had Aldana been able to get past Holm, then, she probably wouldn't have been able to beat Nunes, but at least it would have been somebody different. But the fact that Holm just, Jackson winked her way to a win, and then we're not going to see GDR, the third fight again anytime soon because that fight was boring. Yeah, that's the big reasons to blame for bantamweight. Lack of overall development, and then you got 2 very strong, gatekeepers at 2 and 3 that are just extremely difficult to beat. And they're not going anywhere right now. So, unfortunately. For featherweight, it's just a lack of talent in the division. I mean, there's really little to no talent in the division. Even Bellator's division is mostly bantamweights who moved up. I mean, let me pull up Bellator's featherweight division real quick. So we go to fighters. Then we go women's featherweight. Okay, Bell, Blenko, Borga, Bud, Cyborg, Harding, all featherweight. Sinead Kavanaugh started out as a bantamweight and it basically fought catch weights and then moved up to featherweight. Lee McCourt's a featherweight, Jesse Mealy, I guess. Marina Maknakina she's not a featherweight. She's a bantamweight. She fought all of her fights outside Bellator at bantamweight. She's had one fight in the UFC or Bellator at featherweight. Nogueira is a featherweight. Olga Rubin's, I guess, featherweight. Leslie Smith fought almost her entire career at bantamweight. She had like a few fights at flyweight. So she was able to make flyweight. Now she comes to Bellator to fight at featherweight because that's what's available. Kat Zingano, been a bantamweight the vast majority of her career. Had started out at flyweight, like 3-4 fights there. Moved up to featherweight because, well, she got cut from the UFC or she parted ways with the UFC. Went to Bellator, and that's what's available. It's either flyweight or bantamweight. And she's not going to cut down to flyweight at this point in her career. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 of their fighters that aren't real featherweights. UFC should sign Pam Sorensen and others. They could grow it if they wanted. Dana just does not like Pam Sorensen. Here's the thing. Pam Sorensen, she lost to Felicia Spencer. And we've seen Felicia Spencer is not competitive against the likes of like Nunes. Nothing against Pam personally or anything. She's kind of a middling fighter. 8-3 overall. What is her best win? Her best win is over Caitlin Young, who has like a 500 record right now. I mean, that's it. I hear UFC might sign a couple of Chinese fighters because of bantamweight featherweight division. If they did, they haven't announced it. Their most recent female Chinese signing was Na Liang. They do have a couple of lady fighters in the academy at the Performance Institute in Shanghai. I think Han Guanmei is a bantamweight. Ramona Pasquale moved to Vegas. She's going to continue working with the Performance Institute. She's trying to get signed. She's a bantamweight. Holmes should fight Darian Dami. Fight to make Juliana should get title shot. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that rematch. Sinead beat Leslie, in my opinion. That was such a robbery, in my opinion, to build Leslie's hype. Yeah, I'm not a Leslie Smith fan at all. I mean, to me, she just has a super predictable style. I mean, if you like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, then Leslie Smith is your style of fighter. I played that game as a kid. I don't like it in MMA. Pena gonna get a title shot eventually. Yeah, most likely, because they got to give one to somebody. Pena will not beat Nunes. No, I don't think she will either. Okay, but you don't grow a division by signing one fighter at a time, though, Leon. Like, here's my argument. You say you're going to grow to the division, but grow it with what? You have to have fighters available. I mean, the whole if you build it, they will come thing, you have to have something to build off of. And there's nothing really at women's featherweight to build off of. I mean, Bellator just signed Olivia Parker to help build up Kat Zingano's record back up. Olivia Parker is 4-1. Only fighter she's ever fought with a winning record is the fighter she lost to. I mean, there's nothing to build women's featherweight off of unless you start forcing bantamweights to go up and fight at featherweight. And I'm not personally, I don't think they should do that. Now, if someone misses weight bad enough or enough times, they go, listen, we're not going to offer you any more fights at bantamweight because you've missed weight too many times or you've had bad weight cuts or whatever. Okay, fine. That's one thing. But they can't just force fighters to go up there. No, she won't, but all the talk she's doing, it will be good for UFC. Who? I don't think so. If Clarissa Shield came to UFC, do you think she'd beat Amanda? No. 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 She's not going to have anywhere near enough training. She's going to train MMA for the next 3 straight years, and I don't think she'd beat Amanda Nunes. I'd be up for a tough bantamweight edition again. They haven't done, a tough bantamweight since Tough 18, and that was a good while ago. So, quite a good while ago. That fight is ridiculous. Can Amanda beat Jake Paul? Probably not. I mean, are we talking? I don't know. It's a guy and a girl. Why would they even fight? I think Kayla beat Amanda? No. No, she's not good enough yet. And she's not fighting strong competition at PFL to really get to the point where she's going to improve enough to beat Amanda. All right, so it's getting late. It's 11 o'clock where I am, and I got to be at work at 6. So I got to get going to bed. So that is it for episode 91 of the WMMA Scene Report. Let me know if you're watching this. Thanks to everyone in the chat. If you're watching it on a replay, let me know your thoughts on anything discussed in the comments down below. If you like the video, please give it a like. I hope everyone in the chat gave it a like. And while you're at it, go ahead, subscribe to. Oh, wait, before I close up, if you're not following me on Twitter, it is @NowWMMA. And you should, because you'll get a lot of fight announcements and updates there just by following me. I retweet every fight announcement I see. I share a lot of stuff on there that I don't always get to make videos about on the channel. So definitely follow me on Twitter @NOWWMMA. And like I said, if you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.